was something that had been essentially lost, buried, put away in our family for 50 plus years. It was stored down in the basement, and then when my husband's parents passed away, he inherited it. We've had it for about 25 years, but just had it stored up above the bookshelf at home, and it wasn't until we watched Antiques Roadshow, I got a little suspicious and went, I wonder if that's something that's pretty neat.
I think it's pretty neat.
This painting is an oil on canvas, and it is dated 1858. It shows a peaceful landscape glowing with soft warm light. In the scene, Italian shepherds walk near old stone ruins and mountains rise gently in the background. At first glance, the mountains might look like they could belong to the northeastern United States, but the shepherds and the ruins make it clear that this is actually a view of Italy. This painting was made by an American artist named Sanford Robinson Gifford. Sanford Robinson Gifford was born in 1823 in Greenfield, New York. He grew up in the town of Hudson along the Hudson River, where his father ran iron foundries and a bank. Because his family was fairly wealthy, Gifford had the freedom to focus on painting instead of worrying about money early in his life. He became one of the most respected painters of what is known as the Hudson River School, a group of American landscape artists who painted the beauty of the American wilderness. Gifford is often placed in what people call the second generation of the school, meaning he came after the first group of Hudson River School painters and added his own personal style to it. Gifford became known as one of the great luminist painters of his time. Luminism was a style of painting where artists tried to capture nature as something almost sacred. They paid very close attention to light, letting it glow softly across water, sky, mountains, and land. This soft glowing light is exactly what makes Gifford's paintings feel calm and almost dreamlike. In the middle of the 1850s, Gifford traveled to Europe to study and paint. During this trip, he spent time in Italy, and he created many paintings inspired by the Italian countryside. This particular painting comes from that period of his life. Even though the shapes of the mountains might remind viewers of home, the shepherds and ancient ruins in the painting clearly show that this scene was inspired by Italy, not America. Gifford's life was not without hardship. During the American Civil War, he served in the National Guard, and he even painted scenes connected to the war. He also lost two of his brothers during his lifetime, which brought him great personal sadness. Despite these difficulties, he continued to paint actively throughout his life, and his dedication to his art never faded. The surface of the canvas had become very dirty over time, which made it almost impossible to see the signature clearly. The family could only make out a date, but they had no idea who the artist was. It was not until they became curious, partly inspired by watching antique shows on television, that they decided to have the painting looked at by an expert. As soon as the expert saw the painting, the artist's identity became clear. Once the surface was studied more closely, the signature in the lower left corner confirmed that this piece was created by Gifford himself, and it was signed with every brushstroke. Gifford passed away in 1880. Sanford Robinson Gifford remains one of the most admired landscape painters in American art history, but his paintings remain highly valued today. His work can be found in major art museums, and collectors continue to seek out his landscapes for their soft light and peaceful beauty. His highest-selling artwork at auction is a painting called A Lake Twilight, which sold for $2.9 million at Sotheby's, setting the all-time record for his work.
Hold on to your seat. The insurance value would be about $300,000.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
We bought a painting that we purchased back in 1986. The artist we're now known is Lilla Cabot Perry.
You both seem quite young to be collecting art in 1986. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well,
Even as young children, our grandmother and our parents have always taught us to appreciate older things and paintings in particular.
What did you pay for the painting?
At that time, it was $500.
Okay, so $500 in 1986.
Yes.
This is a painting done in oil on canvas. It shows a young girl sitting quietly holding a doll. This painting is not dated, but experts believe it was created around 1915 based on the age of the girl in the portrait. The subject of the painting is named Edith, and the doll she is holding is called Caroline. This portrait was painted by an American artist named Lilla Cabot Perry. Lilla Cabot Perry was born in Boston in 1848. She came from the Cabot family, one of the most well-known and respected families in the city. She spent much of her time moving between Boston and France, and she became one of the most important American painters of her time. Her major portraits were almost always painted in oil on canvas, just like this one. What makes Lilla Cabot Perry especially remarkable is her connection to one of the most famous painters in history, Claude Monet. She actually became his neighbor in France during the summer months, and she spent about 10 summers living near him. Through this close relationship, she learned directly from his techniques and his approach to painting light and color. She then brought this knowledge back home to America, helping introduce French Impressionism to American audiences. Along with another well-known artist named Mary Cassatt, Lilla Cabot Perry became one of the key figures who helped Americans understand and appreciate this new style of painting. So she is remembered not only for creating beautiful artwork herself, but also for helping shape how an entire country came to understand French Impressionism. The girl in this particular painting has a personal connection to the artist herself. Edith was the granddaughter of Lilla Cabot Perry, and she was born in 1909. Since the girl in the painting looks to be about 6 years old, this places the painting around 1915, right around the time Perry was deeply involved in her work as a portrait painter. The doll in Edith's arms, named Caroline, adds a warm and personal touch to the portrait, showing a quiet, tender moment between a grandmother and her grandchild captured on canvas.
I would say a current auction estimate for this painting would be at least $40,000 to $60,000.
Wow. Really?
And I would say that's conservative.
Unfortunately, I know very little about the painting. You asked me earlier if I even looked up the artist. I didn't bother because it's not one of my favorites, but I bought it through an estate where I grew up in that town, and the lady had a bunch of paintings and she was going into a care facility. So my mom called and said, why don't you come down and see what we can get? And that's the story.
And how long ago was that?
I think in the early 70s.
And do you remember how much you paid for it?
Well, I think it was either $50, could have been $75, I'm not sure.
This is a painting done in oil on canvas. It shows a beautiful summer day captured in a garden in Paris, most likely the Tuileries Garden, one of the city's oldest and most famous public parks. The scene is calm and sunlit with soft natural color that reflects a peaceful afternoon outdoors. Right now, the surface of the painting is quite dirty, and the varnish on the top has darkened and discolored with age. Even so, underneath that layer of grime, the painting itself is in excellent condition with no serious damage. Once properly cleaned, the true brightness of the original colors would likely come back to life. This piece was created by an American artist named Olen Skinner Clark. Olen Skinner Clark was born in Chicago in 1876. He came from a wealthy family, and he began studying art at a very young age, taking classes at the Art Institute of Chicago when he was just 11 years old. His father worked in commodities trading, and the family spent time living in Europe, visiting museums, churches, and the opera while Clark was still a boy. This early exposure to art and culture shaped his interests and gave him a strong foundation before he ever became a professional painter. As a young man, Clark continued his training at the Art Institute of Chicago before moving to New York, where he studied under the well-known artist William Merritt Chase. Eager to grow further as a painter, he then traveled to Paris in 1898 to study under James McNeill Whistler, one of the most famous and respected painters of the era. Whistler had a reputation for being an extremely difficult and demanding teacher, known for pushing his students hard. But Clark always spoke fondly of that period, saying he deeply valued the lessons he learned under Whistler's guidance. That influence shows clearly in Clark's later work, especially in his careful use of color and his balanced, thoughtful compositions. Over the years that followed, Clark traveled back and forth between the United States and Paris, living there on and off until around 1914, right before the outbreak of World War I. This particular painting comes from that period in his life, painted during one of his extended stays in the city. It captures a quiet, sunny summer scene in a Parisian garden, the kind of peaceful, everyday moment that Impressionist painters of the time loved to capture on canvas. While Clark created many beautiful works during his years in Europe, he became most widely known for a very different subject, the construction of the Panama Canal. When the canal was being built, Clark traveled there in person and painted a series of works documenting this massive engineering project as it happened. These paintings captured a historic moment in a way that photographs of the time could not, and they became the body of work most people associate with him today. Clark continued painting and traveling for the rest of his life. He passed away in 1946 in his 70s. Today, Olen Skinner Clark's work is highly valued by collectors, especially pieces from his time in Paris and his celebrated Panama Canal series. His highest-selling artwork at auction is a painting called Bridge Builders, which sold for $204,000 at Bonham's in San Francisco, setting the record for his work.
You'll probably be pleased to know that it's worth today at auction conservatively in the realm of $30,000 to $50,000.
You are kidding me. That's incredible. 30 to... Oh my. So, I don't know what to say. I'm stunned. I guess I like it a lot more now. It'll have a place of honor from now on.